If you don't respect the skills, if you don't respect the progressions that you need to take to get to a certain skill, the impact can be devastating. It can be too high of a price to pay.
I was always jumping on furniture and all that, and my mom says, well, why don't I sign her up for gymnastics?
I always just loved power. I like going as high as I can and seeing how many twists and flips I can fit in the time that I have.
I'd been practicing cartwheels and I thought that I wanted to do gymnastics.
Everybody has a specialty, and gymnastics is to pull these things off, or to go a little bit further and to be a little bit more different than everybody else.
Gymnastics is a sport where there's a lot of repetitive activity, a lot of forces that act on the body, and an elite gymnast, let's say, or a gymnast who's competitive, is a person that's going to be spending a lot of hours in their day or their week performing their sport. So a typical competitive gymnast is 16 hours a week or more, over and over again. There's going to be stress and trauma to certain areas of the body.
If you train for a certain amount of hours, like, your body's just going to take the beatings, but that's why we try and keep our strength up and our flexibility, so it won't happen as often.
The first major one was I sprained/broke both of my ankles at the same time. Then I was out for probably 3 months at least, and then it took me probably about a year before I actually reached back to the level that I was. And then I have probably sprained each of them 5 more times since then. I tape my ankles every time I do anything because one small wind can make me sprain them again. They're so weak.
Depending on the type of routine that they tend to favor or are good at, let's say, is going to determine the types of injuries that we'll tend to see from a repetitive straining point of view.
You need strength in order to do the skill. You also need the flexibility for your jumps and your leaps and your movements on the bars and your shoulder flexibility, so why we have to always condition.
It's a lot more strength training than you can imagine.
One of the common injuries that you'll tend to find with gymnasts is injuries to the lower back because of the repetitive hyperextension mechanism in the lower lumbar spine. So the constant arching of the back will compress the vertebrae in the back part of the spine, and that can stress and strain the joint structures of the vertebrae, which can also stress and strain within the vertebrae.
I had a chiropractor that saved me through a lot of troubles. I probably went twice a week and he would snap and pop and massage everything so that I could keep going.
As far as the wrist goes, a lot of times support techniques tend to help that, preventing the wrist from hyperextending. So applying a taping technique around the wrist can help to support that as well. So strengthening is also a component of the hand, so that you get your finger flexors that can elongate but also support the wrist joint itself.
I just don't like the fact that beam, if you tilt a little bit to the side, that's wrong, you could like just fall off. Like it's really easy to fall off.
We teach them how to fall properly, so we try and prevent injuries. So you're falling off the bar, we teach them how to tuck into the ball, keep your arms in. But there is like, you know what, that one chance you do fall and an injury could happen.
So that could be as simple as a finger sprain to as elaborate as, you know, them fracturing your neck and you're suspecting a spinal injury. Typically though, what I've dealt with in the past has been sort of ankle sprains, wrist sprains, those kinds of things.
I was on bars and I was just doing swings on the high bar because that's how I warm up to do my baby giant. And so I let go because that's how you get off. But my body tilted forwards and I stuck out my arms and I dislocated my elbow and broke it.
It's something to do with the fear, and you have to address the fear factor, and a lot of athletes don't understand what to do with their fear.
If they're learning a skill, we make sure there's plenty of mats. We teach them on the floor first, then we bring them up to the apparatus so they're confident, because if they're not confident, that's when the injuries happen.
Basically, the less thinking you can do is better, because the more you think about it, the more you psych yourself out and the harder it's going to be. So mainly I just know that I can do it and I just go for it. And if it doesn't work out, then you go for it again.
I just say 1, 2, 3, go in my head.
To try to get a child to feel like they've achieved something more than they ever thought was possible.
It's just something that you learn to stay tough and you just keep going, because gymnasts have a high pain tolerance and we're good coping with pain and we can just keep pushing through.
If it's really hard, just keep going. You'll get a lot better and it'll all be worth it.